we'll be recognizing him at our regular meeting this month. Without objection, this item will remain on the agenda. Item number 3 from the county manager, presentation of the fiscal year 25 audit. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This in front of you, you got a hard copy of our June 30th, 2025 audit that was completed by Thompson Price Scott and Adams, which is our contracted outside CPA audit firm. They will be here at your regular meeting to present an overview of that audit. Staff want to make sure that you had your copy so that you could begin reviewing between now and then. Staff will also work to provide a comprehensive overview of financial performance and jointly present that along with Alan Thompson, who's a principal partner with the firm. And I would remind you, this was, I guess, our third year of using Thompson Price, or excuse me, second year of using Thompson Price after a long-standing relationship with another CPA firm. So, very proud of Margaret and the finance team. They've these audits tend to get more technically complex every single year. There's a lot of counties around the state that are struggling to get their audit complete, certainly by the deadline from the local government commission. So pleased that we are submitted and complete and final, and look forward to presenting that in 2 weeks.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manager. Without objection, this item will remain on the agenda. Item number 4, also from the county manager's office, Community Beautification Initiative. This will be presented by Hugh Sando this afternoon. How you doing, Hugh?
Well, good afternoon. Hope you're doing well. One of your goals is community beautification and litter cleanup. That's been on your strategic plan since 2023, when we recognized a need to have a platform for community members to report areas in the community that needed litter cleanup. Since we've been doing that for a number of years, we'll be presenting a full update on that project at your upcoming meeting.
Thank you very much. Any question on this item? Without objection, this item will remain on the agenda. Item number 4, scheduled public hearings. We have no public hearings scheduled for this month. That'll take us on to the consent agenda. Item number 5, first order on the consent agenda comes from the Sheriff's Office, resolution awarding county issued service sidearm and badge presented by our Sheriff, Mr. Banks Heitzman. Good afternoon, Sheriff.
Got me now. Good afternoon. The Sheriff's Office would like to ask permission, or ask the board to surplus a firearm, a Glock 45 pistol, so that we can award that and badge to retired Officer Lieutenant Tim Branch. If you remember Tim, he had the K9 that we retired last year, and Macho, and so Tim retired back in October, and in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 20-187.2 and the Burke County Sheriff's Office Policy and Procedure 2.15, we can award that if you all will surplus that, and that's customary in the state of North Carolina to do that. And I have the $1 whoever I need to present that to. I think it's customary, so I'll do that.
All right, thank you, Sheriff. Any questions on this item? And hearing none, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Item number 2 on the consent agenda comes from our clerk, removal from the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. Madam Cat.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Deanna Wilkerson served on seat number 13 for students under the age of 18. She has now graduated high school and she's off to college, so her removal is requested.
All right, thank you, Kat. Any question on this item? Seeing here none, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Item number 3 comes also from the clerk, removal from the Library Board of Trustees. Kat.
This is for seat number 8 on the Library Board of Trustees, designated for Town of Hildebrand. Jenny Cook has served the maximum number of terms according to the Library Board of Trustee bylaws. Therefore, her removal is requested.
All right, thank you, Kat. Any question on this item? Seeing here none, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Item number 4 from General Services, resolution adopting the 2024 local water supply plan. I guess that's the right year.
Yes, good morning, or good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Happy New Year. Burke County is required by the Division of Water Quality to annually update our local water supply plan. A local water supply plan is simply an assessment of our current and future water needs and our ability to meet those needs. Although this plan is submitted to the state each year and reviewed and approved, a resolution of approval by the governing body is required every 5 years. And I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time or at the regular meeting.
All right, any questions on this item? Seeing here none, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Thank you very much. Brings us to item 6, items for decision. We have a couple items.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I may, I'd like to go back and revisit the item number 1 and ask that we put that on decision. I just feel like all those years of service deserves more than something that's on the consent agenda.
Sheriff, that worked for you? Is that good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any?
I don't think he heard it all. Thanks, sir.
Mr. Burns suggested we move that item to decision so that we would have an opportunity to recognize the deputy.
Lieutenant Tim Branch. Yes, sir. I will make sure that he and his wife are here.
Okay. Everybody good with that? All right. We'll move that item to decision. Thank you very much. Now, back to item number 1 under decision. Tax collection report for the period ending December 31. This is a placeholder. Mr. Manager, you want to speak to it?
Sure, I'll just remind the board that John Bridges, our tax administrator, will be here to present year-to-date revenue collections as well as levy percentage collections. We've shifted this. Traditionally was a consent item. We've moved it at the board's approval to items for decision because of our Monday meetings, and literally it's the first day. It became a real challenge to get accurate data put together before a 3 o'clock meeting. So if the board's willing and to continue to allow us to do that in January, John will be here at the regular meeting to present that data.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manager. Any question on this item? All right, seeing here none, this item will remain on the decision agenda. Item number 2 from the tax release and refund report, same information goes here. Any question on this item? Seeing here none, without objection, this item will remain on the decision. Brings us to item 7, reports and comments. Gentlemen, I'll just remind you of a few things. Please submit your reports to the clerk if you have those before our regular meeting. January 17th, Martin Luther King Jr. banquet at the Community House, 5 p.m. January 19th, county offices are closed in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. The landfill and convenience sites will be open during their regular business hours. January 20th, that is our Board of Commissioners regular meeting at 6 p.m. And again, would remind any youth groups that might would be interested in coming and leading in our Pledge of Allegiance at our regular meetings to please consider doing that and sign up at our website for that, or you can see the clerk. All right, this takes us over to item number 8. Other decisions, we have none. Action items, we have our item number 9, DSS departmental update for November, December, and we'll recognize Corey Fisher-Wellman.
All right. Some update of where things are at DSS. In terms of our current openings, at the time that this report was created, we had 13 openings, which represents about a 7.5% vacancy rate. At that time, 3 of those positions had interviews scheduled, which would, if those were to work out, that would get us down to about a 5% vacancy rate, which, you know, all things considered, not terrible for DSS. So still feel like we're moving in the right direction. You can see there's still CPS social workers continues to be a very difficult job to recruit and maintain, not just for us, but for all DSSs. But we're continuing to work through some strategies to address that. You can see for the month of November, we had 1 total dismissal and a total of 5 hirings. 4 of them were full time, so a net positive of 3 full time employees in November. That's a good thing. In terms of our operational updates, continue to meet. This slide feels monotonous, but I feel like it's always important to point out that we meet our MOU outcomes and economic services month over month, and not every county does that. So I think it's always important to give those folks credit for the hard work they do. And so this just represents that we're meeting all of our MOU metrics for the month of November. In terms of Medicaid, we continue to be pretty stable at about 28,000 recipients. That's been the number for pretty much the course of the year, so that number has been fairly stable. Same for food nutrition services. We did have a little bit of a decrease of about 300 cases in the month of November, but still pretty stable at around 10,400 cases overall. And then in terms of our adult services staff, we continue to have 69 awards with a third party manages an additional 16 awards. You can see there are a number of active special assistance in-home and CAP cases, as well as our APS report data for the month of November. 38 reports for the month, and then there's a breakdown of how each of those reports are sort of screened through the system. In terms of child welfare, this is CPS reports. We continue to have pretty significant. This is the winter months. You tend to see higher numbers, but you can see we had the highest month was 93, but we've continued to trend up since we moved into Path NC, and then this was when this report was done. As of 12/18, there had been 44 screening reports so far in December. A little bit about CPS caseloads. This talks about, you can sort of see the wave of cases. We have, as of today, 285 cases in assessments. Just for understanding, so the state recommends caseload standards. There's no rules that says you have to follow these caseload standards. It's just a recommendation in terms of staffing. They recommend the CPS social worker should carry anywhere between 10 to 12 cases. For the year, we averaged around 285 cases, which if we were fully staffed at 18 social workers, that would work out to caseloads of 16. So that plays a role in why it's difficult to keep CPS social workers here. It's a really hard job on a perfect day, so it's even more of a difficult job when you have more cases than the state caseload ratio. But like I said, we've done some things. We've had within the last couple of months added an additional supervisor. We've added a training and quality assurance team, which I think doesn't necessarily take cases away from you, but it does add additional support, which makes you feel like your job's a little bit easier if you have people you can go to, and also helps. If there's additional supervisory support, it's likely that you can work your cases to closure a little bit quicker. So we're hopeful that with some of those things, we'll see those numbers go down a little bit. But just wanted to give a little bit of context about sort of the baseline of CPS cases here in Burke County. In terms of foster care, we have 109. This is point in time. So at the day this was done, we had 190 kids in care. During the month of November, there were 6 entries and 4 exits. But a little bit of additional data for the year of 2025, we had 125 entries into foster care and 102 exits. And that's the first year since 2021 where that was a net positive. Every other year, we've had more exits than entries, which over a course of years helped us to reduce our foster care numbers a decent amount. But 2025 was a rough year for a lot of factors, and there was a significant increase over the last couple of years in entries. And 102 exits is still really good work at getting kids out of foster care, but we did have a net positive of 20, so that's helping to keep our foster care numbers up just a little bit. And then one other thing I just wanted to sort of make you guys aware of. As you know, through Medicaid transformation several years ago, several private entities took over managing folks' Medicaid coverage, and then a number of special populations stayed with partners. The LME, one of those special populations was foster children. But over the last several years, some history of why this happened is
as you know, placements is a challenge. There was, when there was 4 different LMEs, different LMEs would play different rates, and it was hard when you had a kid who was a Burke County foster kid who was placed on the eastern part of the state, and maybe that placement didn't take Partners Medicaid, so there was a push to create a statewide foster care plan, and all the LMEs came together and submitted a proposal, and then several of the private companies also submitted. Healthy Blue was awarded the contract. They took over foster care Medicaid coverage December 1st. I think the hope is it's one unified system that's going to be streamlined. It's going to help create more placements. It's going to create less competition of, like I said, like people paying different rates. That's the hope. I mean, we're only a month in. All things take time. I would say the first month has been a little bit challenging. I mean, they're sort of jumping into something that was brand new to them, so there's been a little bit of bumps in the road. But I think we remain hopeful that having this unified statewide foster care plan is going to lead to better outcomes for our children. So that happened. It initially went live December 1st, so we're just over a month in. So the jury's out on the effectiveness, but hopeful that it leads to better outcomes. Happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
All right, thank you, Corey. Any questions for Corey on his report today?
I just have one. Corey, could you share maybe a little about, you said there were kind of some hiccups or bumps in the road with the Healthy Blue. What kind of challenges have you experienced with that?
I think some of it was just, they had to stand up a whole operation. So they hired a bunch of people. Counties could, accept in-person support. So we have an in-person person who sort of our understanding was this person is our sort of go-to person. They had a sort of different understanding of what their role was. So some of it was just like everyone not knowing, at Healthy Blue what they were supposed to do, what their role was. Some of it was just normal growing pains. I think there continues to be something. They had to renegotiate contracts with all providers across the state because providers were contracted with LMEs. So there are some contracts that are still in progress. So if you had a kid in a certain placement that contract wasn't worked out before December 1st, that created some difficulty. Or if you had some LMEs can use their maintenance of like local monies to do some different creative things that we weren't really using that money for placement and things like that, so it didn't affect us as much. But that was a lot of stuff. Was some of that specific LME stuff that maybe they were paying for that didn't translate to Healthy Blue. But most of it is just communication and like normal growing pains, and I think things that will over time get ironed out. A lot of it was contracting with providers. There are a lot of counties, particularly far west counties, who they are continuing to have some struggles with their providers being contracted with Healthy Blue.
Other questions? All right, seeing here none, I'll entertain a motion to accept this report as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept the report as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Stratton. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0. All right, this brings us to item number 10, closed session. Gentlemen, we do have a need for closed session today. I'll make the motion to enter closed session to consult with the board attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the board, including but not limited to the matter of Burke County versus County Juan Pedro, 25 CBS 57 Burke County Superior Court, pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A3 to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, or conditions of appointment or initial employment of a public officer, employee, or prospective public officer, employee pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A6 and to prevent the disclosure of confidential or privileged information pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A1 and 153-A98. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. No. That's all of us. Thank you very much. We'll relocate to the kitchen. And we'll also invite our code enforcement officer, Bradley Kirkley, in to deal with one of these matters.